Hello, welcome to Great Minds Tutorials. This is your favorite tutor, Hodiso. And in this episode, I'm going to be doing a simple exercise. I'm going to be doing an exercise which we're going to put in three numbers and we're going to be determining the maximum between those three numbers. It's just a simple exercise, but I think that method is very important for us to actually know it. Okay, so I'm going to call this a maximum example. So the maximum number example. So in this case, this is then going to be when you have a scanner, let's see, new scanner system that in. So okay, I'm gonna import the scanner class from Newton. So let's declare all the three numbers. You're gonna have num1, num2, and num3. And in this case, okay, I'm gonna come back and add the other ones. So I'm gonna prompt user input. So I'm gonna say system.out.println. Line. Please enter the first number. Let's remove the ln so that it appears in one line. So num1 is then assigned to sc.nextInt. Like that. So system.out. So please. Okay, now I'm a little bit lazy. Just gonna copy this and paste. So I'm gonna copy that, come down here, paste, come down here and paste. Please enter here. I'm gonna say second. Let's remove that second. And here I'm going to say the third number. So here I'm going to change this and make it num2. And here I'm gonna make this num3. Okay, immediately after we have this, then there are temporary numbers that I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need a temp1. And I'm gonna leave the last one, which is temp2. And I'm gonna get the maximum. So remember, we're putting in three numbers, we're trying to get the maximum. So let's process the numbers. So in order for me to process the numbers, I'm gonna need a temp1 first. So I'm gonna use the math class, which is a predefined class that you don't need to import. So you're gonna say math dot, then you're gonna say max of num1, and you're gonna check it against num2. And in temp number 2, then this is where I'm going to store the maximum of number 1 and number 3. So I'm going to say max of num1. And since I've already compared num1 and num2, then I'm going to say num3 here. So vice versa, it works. So I'm not going to do for number 2 and num3. That one, then I'm going to get the max. So the max is going to be the math dot the max of the temporary number 1, which is temp1. And I'm also going to check with temp number 2. So, okay, in this case, this is what it's going to do. It's going to check the first number with the second number. If the second number is the one which is bigger, then it's going to get it as the maximum. Then it's going to check number 1 and number 3. If number 3 is the maximum, then it's going to be stored for temp. So for temp number 1, 2 is going to be stored. And then for temp number 3, num3 is going to be stored. So when I check the maximum for temp 1 and temp 2, it's just me basically now checking the maximum for number 2 and number 3. Why? Because for temp number 1, num2 is going to be stored, and for temp number 2, num3 is going to be stored. I hope that makes sense. So those are the only three things that you're going to need. So and then displaying. So and then I'm going to say system.out. I'm going to say the maximum number between num1, then I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to put num2 here, and then I'm gonna say and space here. Concat num3. I'm gonna say concat and let's say is, and that should be the max. So this should be able to do the trick. So now I'm gonna put in the first number, which let's say is a 12, the second number, let's say is a 25, and the third number we say is a 30. So now you can see it's able to say that the maximum number between 12, 25, and 30 is the number 30, which is correct. So if we run this again, now this time around, let's start with 48, and then I start with 12, and then let's start with 18. And then you can see the maximum numbers between 48, 12, and 18 is 48, which is actually true. If we rerun this again, now let's write 12 here. Let's write 89, and then let's write a 0. As you can see, it's even able to determine that and say that the maximum number between that and that and that is that. So bear in mind, if you want to do the minimum, it's the opposite. You'll just change here, you'll write min here, you'll write min here, and you'll also write the min here. So that's if you want the minimum. So here you'll say minimum. So to run this, you will see if I write the 89 here, if I write the 9 here, and if I write the 0 here, you'll see that it's going to determine that 0 is the minimum one. And that is how you reverse that. From you getting the maximum, you can still also be able to get the minimum. So the more numbers you input, the more you're going to need to calculate more temps. So let's say in this case, we want to expand this. Now we want to make it, we want to paste here. We want to paste here, and in this case, I want to get the fourth number. Fourth number. So let's make this a 4. Now I'm just thinking about how more complex can this be. So here we're going to say num4. So the more you are getting, then you're going to get the num4. And now, if you're having 4 numbers, you must then have another temp, which is going to be temp number 3. And then, yeah, so that one is going to be against 1 and a 2. And then a temp 3 here is then going to be the math dot the mean of num1 against num4. 4. And then in this case, those are the 3 numbers for you to determine from the 4. One is going to be eliminated. And now, what you're going to need in order for this to actually work out is that then you can right away go and use an if statement, but let's just break it down again. So now I'm going to have a temp 1, 1, and I'm going to have a temp 1, 2. So the temp 1, 1 is going to now we are dealing with this temp. Now we are dealing with temp. So temp 1, 1 is then going to be the math dot mean of temp 1 against temp 2. So the trick here is to break down these numbers from a 4. You eliminate 1. Since you're having 4 numbers, you want to eliminate 1 so that you're left with at least 3 numbers. Either of them. Either way, whether you're eliminating num1, num2, or num3, you just want to eliminate 1. So then we have done it by using this temp. So meaning that if we check num1 and num2, you find that num2 is the bigger one, it will eliminate num1. Num2 is going to be stored here. If num2 and num3, num1 is going to be stored here, we eliminated num3. And we're checking between num4 and num1. If num4 is the bigger one, num4 is going to be stored here. So as you can see, we have num2, we have num1, we have num4, meaning that in that case, we'll have eliminated num3. So and then when you get here, you're going to say that's the mean of temp1 and temp2. So temp1, 2 is going to be math dot the mean of temp1 and temp3. Since we are at the top, we have already confirmed with temp2. So in this case, let's just be correct here and say that this is going to become a min, because in this case we are calculating for a min, but just because we are, so now I'm gonna determine for temp1, and temp1, I'm no longer dealing with this. This breaks down to this breaks the numbers from 4. We are now dealing with 3. Now we're dealing with 2 numbers. We want to break them down from 3. Now we want to deal with 2 numbers. Then from that, we're checking the minimum from the 2 numbers. So in this case here, I'm gonna change this and say min. Yeah, I'm gonna say 2. After concat, yeah, I'm going to put that. I'm gonna say comma, say concat, and I'm gonna have that num3, yeah, and then a concat, and then it's gonna say and, yeah, I'm gonna change and say num4. So now since we are dealing with 4 numbers, that's how it changes. So you can even go to 5, 6, and all of those kind of stuff. So it means you're gonna have 5 temps, you're gonna have 3 extra inner temps. Now not sure if maybe that makes sense. Okay, now but now 45, 90, and as you can see, it gets that at 12 is the minimum one. So let's just put in random numbers here to 0. Then you can see still able to determine that 0 is the, so put a 0 at first. So let's say we have a -3, and as you can see, -3 is the one that is the smallest. So that's basically how you can expand it by adding more numbers that you want to compare and get the maximum. So the trick is you processing this information here, but which is not really a trick because it's still straightforward. We're just using the math class, and the math class is just a predefined class that we do not need to import whenever we're using. And that is it from me, your favorite tutor Khodiso. Till the next time we drop our next video, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That is it from me. Cheers.